At 36,000 feet above the clouds, a routine flight turned into something that would haunt everyone on board forever. Passengers were sipping coffee, scrolling through phones, unaware that in just minutes, a young black teenager's world would shatter, quite literally. A flight attendant's authority was about to cross the line into violence, and what she didn't know was that a federal judge sat just a few rows away, quietly watching everything unfold. Cameras didn't catch it, but justice did. Because when power meets prejudice and the truth finally takes flight, the landing is never smooth. His name was Malik Thompson, a 16-year-old high school junior from Atlanta. It was his first time flying alone, a quick trip to visit his grandmother in Denver. He was tall for his age, polite, and carried that nervous excitement that only comes with being young and free. Malik loved aviation. He dreamed of becoming a pilot one day. His phone was full of airplane photos, cockpit videos, and travel blogs. That morning, his mother hugged him tighter than usual before he left for the airport. "Be careful, baby," she said, like mothers do, not knowing how heavy those words would soon become. The flight itself seemed ordinary, a mix of tired business travelers, families on vacation, and a few college students heading home. The air smelled of brewed coffee and recycled air, the hum of the engine steady and calm. Malik sat by the window, seat 14A, earbuds in, smiling quietly as the plane lifted through the clouds. A few rows ahead, in seat 10C, sat Judge Evelyn Carter, a federal judge traveling under the radar, no robe, no entourage, just another passenger. Her eyes scanned the cabin like someone used to noticing what others overlook. The flight attendants moved efficiently, serving drinks and snacks. Among them was Heather, a senior attendant with years of experience, but a growing reputation for her temper. Passengers whispered that she could be rude, especially to young passengers or people she didn't think belonged. For Malik, it started small. A misunderstanding over a soda, a tone mistaken for defiance. But sometimes racism doesn't announce itself with words. It hides behind rules, behind uniforms, behind smiles that don't reach the eyes. And up in that quiet cabin, the storm was beginning to form. At first, no one paid much attention. Heather's sharp tone seemed like a minor annoyance, the kind of thing passengers brush off. But Malik noticed the shift, how her smile faded when she spoke to him, how her patience thinned faster than with anyone else. When he asked for a ginger ale, she rolled her eyes. "You already had one," she muttered, even though others around him had asked for refills without a problem. Malik didn't argue. He just nodded, putting his earbuds back in, trying not to make waves. But Heather wasn't done. She came back, accusing him of ignoring safety instructions, saying his bag was in the wrong compartment, his seatbelt wasn't properly fastened. Each time, Malik complied, quietly, respectfully. Yet each time, her tone grew colder. People started noticing. A woman across the aisle frowned. A man whispered to his wife. Judge Carter, 3 rows ahead, glanced back, subtle but sharp. She had seen that look before. Authority disguised as professionalism, control fueled by something darker. When turbulence hit, the captain called for everyone to be seated. The cabin lights dimmed. Heather walked past again and noticed Malik's phone resting on his tray table. She snapped, "Put it away." Malik apologized, reaching for it, but the sudden jolt of the plane caused the cup beside him to spill a few drops of soda. Heather's reaction was instant. "That's enough," she barked. Passengers looked up startled. "I've warned you twice. You're being disruptive." Malik froze, confused, embarrassed, heart pounding. I didn't do anything," he whispered, but his words barely carried. Heather's face tightened. "Stand up," she ordered, voice trembling with anger. "Now." He hesitated, still buckled in, trying to process what was happening. Before anyone could intervene, she reached for his arm, gripping too hard, yanking him out of the seat. Malik stumbled into the aisle, the cabin gasping as his shoulder hit the armrest. The plane went silent except for the whir of the engines. Judge Carter unbuckled quietly, her eyes locked on the scene. She could see it. The fear in Malik's eyes, the anger in Heather's posture, the racial undertones humming beneath every second of it. Heather kept scolding him, calling for backup from another attendant, insisting he'd been aggressive. Malik stood there trembling, his voice shaking as he tried to explain. No one could miss the contrast. A scared teenager being treated like a threat. Then came the shove. It was quick, almost reflexive. Heather pushed him back when he turned slightly to sit down, and Malik's face struck the hard edge of a seat. The sound was sharp, a painful crack that made several passengers flinch. A small gasp left his lips as he fell back, holding his jaw, blood trickling down his chin. The cabin erupted. People shouted. Someone pulled out a phone. A mother yelled for help. The other flight attendant tried to calm the crowd, insisting it was an accident. But Judge Carter had seen everything. Every word, every motion, every escalation. She pressed the call button and spoke calmly but firmly, the kind of calm that carried power. "Get your captain," she said. "Now." The tension inside that cabin was electric, raw and uncomfortable. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm but uncertain, asking the crew to maintain order. But there was no order left to maintain. Malik sat slumped in his seat, one hand pressed to his jaw, eyes glassy with pain and disbelief. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. Passengers murmured, horrified. Some recorded quietly, others demanded answers. Heather tried to regain control, her voice cracking as she spoke. "He was aggressive," she insisted. "He stood up when I told him not to." But her words faltered when Judge Carter stood up. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Authority radiated from her presence like quiet thunder. "I saw everything," she said. The cabin fell silent. The flight attendants froze. Even the hum of the engines seemed to fade into the background. Judge Carter reached into her bag and revealed her identification, the unmistakable seal of the United States Federal Court. Gasps rippled through the rows. "I am Judge Evelyn Carter, Federal District Court," she continued evenly, "and this young man did nothing to warrant assault. You touched him, physically harmed him, and now you're lying to cover it." Heather's face drained of color. I didn't mean... It was an accident," she stammered, her hands trembling. But the damage was done. Malik's jaw was visibly swelling, his breathing shallow from shock. A nearby nurse rushed to help him, gently wiping the blood from his chin. The cabin crew's authority, once absolute, crumbled under the weight of truth. Judge Carter requested to speak to the captain directly. Within minutes, the cockpit door opened and the captain, pale and shaken, approached. "This flight is now under observation," she said firmly. "Document everything. This young man will receive medical attention the moment we land, and your airline will face full accountability. I will ensure it." Heather stood motionless, her badge catching the light like a symbol of power misused. For the first time that day, Malik looked up through teary eyes and saw something he hadn't since boarding that flight. Justice, standing right in front of him. When the plane landed in Denver, paramedics were already waiting. Malik was escorted off carefully, his face swollen and bruised, but his spirit, though shaken, still intact. Passengers came forward one by one, giving statements, offering to share their videos, their testimonies. They knew what they had witnessed was not just a disagreement. It was racism in its rawest, most public form. Judge Carter stayed by Malik's side the entire time, her calm presence an anchor amid chaos. She personally ensured that the airline's security didn't try to question or intimidate him. Her words carried weight, the kind that silences excuses and demands accountability. Within days, the story reached national headlines. The footage, shaky but clear, showed exactly what happened. Millions watched in disbelief as an innocent black teenager was assaulted mid-flight by a woman sworn to serve and protect passengers. Heather was immediately suspended. By the end of the investigation, she was fired and later charged with assault. The airline released a formal apology. But Judge Carter's statement at the press conference cut through every corporate spin and empty word. Justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes it sits quietly in seat 10C, watching prejudice reveal itself 36,000 feet in the air. Malik eventually recovered, his jaw healing after surgery. Months later, he stood beside Judge Carter at an aviation youth event, smiling again, sharing his dream of becoming a pilot, to prove that no amount of hate could keep him grounded. His story became more than a moment of outrage. It became a message, a reminder that silence is complicity, and that sometimes the people who stand up for what's right are sitting just a few rows away. Because justice may fly slow, but it always lands. If this story moved you, don't scroll past. Like this video to spread awareness. Comment your thoughts below. What would you have done if you were on that flight? And share this story so the world never forgets what justice looks like when it finally takes flight.